further, I want to double check, are we recording? Okay. Thank you, Shannon. And so welcome to the OWHE Election Coffee Chat webinar. Our goal for today is to just make this an approachable space. We're going to do this kind of talk show host style where we have a list of questions. We're going to go around and answer them, but we really are hoping to hear from you all. If you're comfortable putting your face on the screen, feel free. If you're not, then don't worry about it. And if you want to ask questions, go ahead and just unmute yourself and ask, or you can type them into the chat and Shannon will read them off. Our hope today is to engage with everybody. And so one of the first things we wanted to do is share where you can find all the information about the OWHE elections. That'll get into a lot. Today we're kind of talking about more of the soft side of being in the positions and answering any really specific questions you have, but for general information, you can go to the link that Shannon just put in the chat, OWHE.org/elections. And I'll walk you through that page really quickly when I figure out how to do that a second time. All right, so I'll just share my screen and then bring up, here we are. So this is the OWHE Board Elections webpage. You can learn a lot more about the OWHE Pivot from here. You can also, if you want to read more about the OWHE Pivot, it's here in the About Us section. You can learn about eligibility. We're open to anyone in Oregon or the Portland metro area, including WSU and like WSU Vancouver. If you identify as woman, non-binary, and or transgender, if you've attended the annual conference or any OWHE specific event, and if you're signed up for a listserv, that's really it to be an OWHE member and to run for the board. You do not have to have had previous volunteer experience. And you can read about representation, where OWHE in this pivot is trying to very intentionally center voices that have been historically marginalized. And so we're really hoping that folks, as they apply, have that drive to center voices at the heart of what they do, as well as can be representative of the diverse makeup of our membership. And then here's our election timeline. You can apply now, and we've got quite a few board positions open. We've got incoming chair of the board, director of marketing and communication, that's Jenna's role, and she's going to talk about that. Director of engagement, that's Trisha, she'll tell you all about that. And then co-director of the annual conference, we've got both Mackenzie and Brenna who are going to tell you more about that position. And then we have a brand new position, which is why it's only a one-year term, and it's the director of records and analytics. It's brand new, and we are hoping that it'll be it won't be elected the same term as marketing and records, or marketing and outreach. So we're hoping to stagger it starting next year, so it's only going to have a one-year term. And it might need to kind of change and morph as someone gets into this position and helps uncover more of what this role can do. But it's really about providing leadership in our data and our tracking and our membership records. We right now have like a MailChimp list and some files in a Google Drive, and so we want somebody who's really got an eye for data management to come in and help support this. So that is the open board positions, and Jen and I can both speak to the Director of Records and Analytics position. But, and so if you have any specific questions about that, we'll move on over to the questions in a second. I'm going to stop sharing and move on to the coffee chat. So let's go ahead and introduce ourselves. I am Erica Curry, she, hers. I am chair of the board. I work at OSU, and the other question that we're asking is, what's your favorite coffee cup? And my favorite coffee cup is this one that says 30 never looked so good. And the reason it's my favorite is because it was my mom gave it to, or my grandfather gave it to my mom, and we kept it at our old house, at my grandpa's house. And when my grandmother finally passed, I got to keep the coffee cup. And so that's like my souvenir of my family, and it makes me really happy. So it's my favorite coffee mug. It's very sentimental. All right, so we can just move on to the next person. Shannon, you want to go?
Sure, I'm Shannon Shivers. I'm the Director of Education. I use she, her pronouns. My position is not up this year, but it will be next year. I run the education committee. So if you are interested in that, I highly encourage you to get involved with the education committee. We do things throughout the year to support the webinars, conference planning around recruiting people to do sessions and evaluating sessions, and then also running the learning community. So let me know, and I'm also happy to answer any questions. I work closely, with the folks for the conference related to that, and then also with the marketing director to promote the webinars and the learning community and things like that on a regular basis. So I'm happy to answer questions on that. And my favorite coffee mug right now, I have a tentacly octopus that's pink, and you put your fingers through the tentacles, and it's a really fun experience. So that one's been my favorite for a while now. Brenna, you want to go next?
Sure, thanks. Hi, I'm Brenna. I use she, her, they pronouns, and I am one of the 2 co-directors of the annual conference. I am stepping down this year, so Mackenzie will be the person that the new person is working with for the next year. It's kind of a nice model. I have my favorite coffee mug here. It is called Great Gaze out of the closet, and my little sister got it for me. And it's a bunch of closets when it's cold, and then when it's warm, you have James Baldwin and Audre Lorde and all these great gays coming out of the closet with little pride flags. So it's pretty fun. Was that it? Did I forget anything? Cool. Jenna, because you're next on my screen.
Cool, thanks, Brenna. Hi, everyone. My name is Jenna Durasitano. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the Director of Marketing, Records, and Outreach. And my position will actually, as Erica mentioned, be splitting into 2 positions in the upcoming year. That's going to be the Director of Marketing and Communications, and then the Director of Analytics and Records. So I'll get into the details of those later. But my favorite coffee, I have so many favorite coffee mugs. I have, people just gift them to me all of the time. I think my favorite mug right now is probably my Hamilton mug. I'm obsessed with Broadway and I'm obsessed with Hamilton, and I have a mug that says "Wait for it" on it, which is a lyric from the show. And my colleagues always joke don't talk to Jenna until she has finished her entire cup of coffee. So it's wait for it, wait for Jenna to be done with that coffee. Because I can be a little grumpy in the morning when I haven't had my coffee. Trisha, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I'll go next. Hi, everyone. My name is Trisha Brand. I use she, her pronouns. I am currently the Director of Engagement for OWHE. And I am stepping down from the board. My tenure is now up, and the big part of the work that happens with the Director of Engagement is focusing on our mentorship program. But there have always been many ideas about how to expand the role of both Director of Engagement, but also those who work on the committee. And so whoever's maybe interested in stepping into this role should be really excited. We've got some great committee members who want to talk about other potential ideas in terms of how to expand that work. My favorite coffee mug now is this coffee mug. It's actually a themed coffee mug. It's for Halloween, and it says it's all just a bunch of hocus pocus. And I love being able to bring this out right around Halloween time and get to find out who else in the room really enjoys Halloween, because they're always going to comment on the mug. And the last thing I'll mention is just a little bit of mug trivia. Back in the 60s, when it was really challenging to actually sell coffee, believe it or not, there were these jingles that were created for something called mug mates. And so it was this idea that for couples that were dating, they should actually have matching mugs. That is a real thing. You should look it up. Sorry, let's see. Who hasn't gone yet? Is Mackenzie?
Thank you, Trisha.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got Mackenzie and Michelle here as well.
Okay.
I'll just jump in then. Hello, everyone. I'm Mackenzie Winders, pronouns she, her, hers. I'm the current co-director of the annual conference, and I will be remaining in this role, as Brenna mentioned, and will be assisting and supporting whoever steps in. I'm sorry that my screen doesn't work because I can't even show the mug. I don't drink coffee, but somehow all of my friends and family love giving me coffee mugs. I think it's just a cruel joke, but I drink other things in them, of course. But my favorite mug is actually in the shape of a pineapple, and it's super impractical to even drink anything out of it because it's really sharp and pointy. But I don't know why I love it so much. Probably because it's just the exact opposite of what a coffee mug should be. So that is my favorite coffee mug.
Thanks, Mackenzie. This is Michelle Cutler. Sorry, I'm not sure my video screen either. I had a rough night with dogs last night, so I'm still like recovering from up all night with puppies. So I am the Director of Business Operations. I'm not stepping down this term, so we don't need to worry about filling my position, I don't think. And I use she, her pronouns, and my favorite coffee mug, I have lots of them that have miniature dachshunds on them because that's what I have a lot of at my house. And I have one that says, my wiener is bigger than your wiener, and that's probably my favorite one.
Thank you, Michelle.
I was saying we're all muted so we can't laugh. It sounded like it was just a bunch of awkward silence.
Yeah, you can't see the screen. We're all dying over here, so it's fine.
We're professional, but we still all laugh at wiener jokes. I just want to throw that out. Join our club.
Welcome to OWHE. Okay, so thank you, Michelle. That was great. That's perfect. That's the tone we were going for with this whole coffee chat, was just here we are as humans telling you about something that we really enjoy doing and want to share with you. Okay. We're going to start with a round of questions. The first question we're going to ask is, what's the day-to-day of your position at a high level? And we'll start with Jenna.
All right. I will first talk about currently the situation with my position, and most of what will be moved to the Director of Marketing and Communications, and then I can speak a little bit to what I think that the Director of Analytics and Records might be doing on a day-to-day basis. So at a high level, the Director of Marketing and Communications is responsible for keeping all of our social media, our website, our email account all up to date with the latest information, and making sure that we are sharing with our members all of the great work and events that we're doing as a board and as an organization. So a typical day for me with OWHE, I spend like during the weekday maybe 30 minutes during my workday just checking the OWHE inbox every day, seeing if we've got any emails, checking our social media accounts to see who's engaging with us, and then just checking our Slack channel. We use Slack here at OWHE to keep in touch with each other on the board, and it's kind of our main form of communication with board members. So just checking in with my fellow board members to see what's coming up and what events need to be advertised. So it's really a lot of organizing deadlines and keeping track of when things are coming up and who are the stakeholders and who do I need to chat with or get materials from to promote our awesome events and work and all the things going on at OWHE. This role is also responsible for the membership database, which this is a chunk that will be moved to the Director of Analytics and Records because it was just too much for one person to take on. So I imagine the Director of Analytics will be focusing on who are our members, cleaning up the data that we currently have, and hopefully doing an all membership survey to get more up-to-date information about who we're actually serving, what they want out of the organization, and how they want to be supported, and how they want their voices to be heard. So I imagine that role, and maybe Erica, if you want to jump in, a lot of their focus will be kind of getting in the weeds with data and collecting more and cleaning it up for us.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great summary, Jenna. In essence, this position is really looking at, like Jenna said, who are our members, who are we serving, and also looking at the feedback that we're getting and who are we serving well and where do we have room to improve and grow, and looking at aligning sort of, right now our like membership feedback mechanism is really from the conference, and so it kind of helps building in better member feedback loops, and also just making sure that there's alignment between what we're measuring and what our goals and our mission and our vision are, and our values. And then also maintaining all of our records, and so that we have, like, if a member is a member and also in all these volunteer organizations, we can actually see that more easily. So if anybody has, and the other part about this position is it's brand new. There'll be some data visualization components to it. So you really get to build it however you want, with support of the board. And I will be on as past chair this coming year, so I'll be there to help support it. And I have a lot of experience with analytics, so I'm happy to support and help mentor anybody who steps into this position as well. But yeah, so I think that's the day-to-day for this position for the first year is going to be figuring out where does everything live and coming up with a better strategy for that, I really believe, and better feedback models. All right, so since I can talk about what day-to-day for the chair looks like, and then we can go on to the next person. So for day-to-day for the chair of the board is really, like, you'll have 3 phases. You'll be incoming chair 1 year, active chair the next, and then past chair. We're still figuring out what past chair looks like, but for incoming and active, it's being responsive to folks on Slack. It's checking in with what everybody's doing and making sure it all kind of interconnects, and that if somebody's doing one initiative in one area, that it's connected to what somebody else is doing in another area. It's really collecting the wisdom and the energy and the ideas and the talent of each of the individuals that are on the board, and helping to make sure that it's all working together and towards the mission and the vision. In my mind, the job of the chair is just to amplify the exceptional individuals that we have on this team. There's also some parts that aren't so glamorous, like making sure that that the agendas are set for the board meetings, that the board meetings get scheduled, that folks are getting what they need to be supported in their positions. The chair kind of gets to learn all the different pieces of technology that we use so that they can support everybody coming in with them. You're kind of backup for every position. So that's the other piece to being chair. And then as we come to the conference, the chair is really helping just support everybody's initiatives and getting things happening. The chair also right now leads the institutional reps. So I think there's also room for that to be part of engagement, and I think that's a conversation that can be had as we move forward. And other than that, I mean, am I missing anything that I do besides being hilarious on Slack? Is there anything I'm missing? I mean, offering feedback all the time when folks ask for it too. So I think those are the big things that the chair does. All right, so Brenna's right below me in my screen, so I'll just jump down and then we can pass on from there.
Cool. I will answer this question, and then Mackenzie can jump in with whatever I missed. Or okay, so day to day, this kind of depends really on what time of year it is, since the conference is such a big time commitment. So generally, when it comes to the conference, there's definitely the event planning logistics, which is communicating with the vendor, setting the food menus, figuring out the rooms, all that stuff. Working with Shannon's position to make sure that everything's moving smoothly for the breakout sessions. So doing whatever she needs for that, which is usually very little because she does everything wonderfully. Running the keynote and panel communication and solicitation. So figuring out who we want to speak as the keynote and on the panelists. Then for the rest of the year, there's managing the RFP. So we currently selected Ashland Hills for the following 2 years, but then in another year or two, we'll want to open the RFP process again and start getting bids. So managing that, whatever that happens to look like, which is posting or reviewing. What else? Working with communications. So Jenna's position to make sure we are, talking about the conference and plugging it and doing any communications related to like getting people to sign up for that, talking about how great the conference location is, et cetera. And then just doing, I think, other board things. So, the retreats or helping, I help where I can with, the agendas and all that stuff. So yeah, just kind of being useful and obviously making jokes on Slack. Definitely part of the job. Mackenzie, did I leave anything out or you want to elaborate on anything?
You covered a lot of it, Brenna. I would say, I think more in just a global way that the conference or the co-conference director works is just really thinking, what do our attendees, what do we want to provide to our attendees that they're going to get out of the conference? How can we manage that, not only with just like general setup or catering or, room layouts and working with other board directors for content, but really like, what do we want people to walk away with that feeling of being re-energized and refreshed and identifying things that other conferences don't. Something that really led me to want to run for the board and then of course get this position was because I saw the quiet room my first conference and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. I'm an introvert. I need quiet space away from others. And it really helps me shape, because in my professional life, I do conference work and organization work with events for students and families. And I was like, okay, if I value this, what am I missing that I'm not seeing that others might value? So I think in that way, the conference director position is really kind of that first and lasting impression, as well as a way to really engage with our membership, for them to feel relaxed, to have those conversations, to get that information, and to really reflect on the content that's covered during the conference itself. So just in a more broad way, that's what I really enjoyed about this position and what I'm looking forward to the next year of kind of taking all the things that we talk about as a board and really putting that into action in a way, or, creating that environment for our attendees for the conference. But.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. It's nice working with somebody who thinks of things that you don't. So yeah, I appreciate, we've had a lot of great conversations around like, we'll have conversations with the board and then, how do we implement that? And that is a lot of our, throughout the years, like, what can we do at the next conference? So thank you. Are we supposed to call on someone? Trisha.
Okay. So in terms of high level day-to-day work with the Director of Engagement, I think what's really interesting about this position is that the focus is largely on trying to connect folks who are OWHE members to one another through the mentorship program. A lot of effort is put in place to ensure that there's some promotion, there's matching through the mutual mentorship model, and then support at the actual OWHE conference. And then from there, there's an opportunity to sort of support many of the mentorship clusters through kind of pinging occasionally around, have you met? How are things going? Do you need any technical support? There may be opportunities to share critical resources to help folks think about their own professional development, professional engagement, where they're still needing support, recognizing that we have OWHE members that are coming from many different corners of the higher education landscape. And part of the strength of the mentorship program is to recognize that sometimes you actually want to be supported around issues that might cross areas of expertise or discipline, but you know that you're still navigating very similar challenges in higher ed, and that can be really powerful. And so the idea of being able to develop that is really just to continue to push folks to stay in community with one another. That's really what the engagement role does. In listening to some of my other fellow directors talk about their work. I think that this is where there's tremendous opportunity for the Director of Engagement to continue to support those efforts. Earlier, Erica was talking about what might emerge in terms of supporting our institutional reps and how might the engagement committee support that. Listening a little bit earlier also to Jenna talking about how the kind of new structure of the position connected to outreach and membership. How does that look in thinking about ways in which we might survey our members and understand what they need? These are some areas that the engagement committee and the engagement director can support. Thinking about how we can strengthen what engagement looks like at the conference. So, what's really awesome is like we had 2 caucuses this year. We had a caucus, the 3rd annual or 4th annual Women of Color Caucus. We also had our queer caucus that occurred the night before. And these are real opportunities to not only think about how we support members at the level of the conference, like where you find community, but where do we also want to create greater levels of engagement at the conference? And that could really happen within the engagement role as well. And then the last thing is, of course, you do really need to figure out the best way to support all the great efforts that are happening across the OWHE board. So to me, the engagement role is continuing to think about, from an engagement perspective, how do we strengthen what it is that we're doing to provide support to our OWHE members? And could there be an official capacity that the engagement committee serves in doing that? Or would it actually come through just continuing to support and create visibility for other efforts? I think there's a chance to do more with social media. I think there's a chance to do more in supporting what happens within our education capacity and webinars. There's a lot of potential growth with this position. And so I think if you're interested in creating something that really strengthens all that you see here, this might be a really good role. And I'm not saying strengthen because it's excellent now. There's like no room for growth. But in terms of moving in creative directions, I think that this role can really be facilitative. So.
Thank you, Trisha. That was fantastic. Thank you. All right. So our next 2 questions are what surprises you about your position and what do you enjoy most about your position? And instead of going around where everybody kind of takes some time to answer, I thought we could do a bit more popcorn style. So in 3 words or less, no, that's not fair. Brenda just panicked. In 15 seconds or less, that's that. What surprises you most about your position with OWHE? And I'm gonna just like pick a random person. So I'm gonna start with Trisha.
I didn't feel random at all. Okay, so no, I'm sure it was. Okay, what surprised me most about the position, honestly, is the level of interest that OWHE members have in wanting to be a part of the mentorship program. I think that is pretty cool. And then what was the second question?
What do you enjoy most about the position?
What do I enjoy most about it? Honestly, working with this board. It's really phenomenal, and being a part of the conference. I love the conference. It's it's probably one of the best conferences I attend in a year.
Fantastic. Thank you. Yeah. All right. You get to pick. Who's next?
All right. Let's go with Jenna.
Okay. What were the questions? What surprises me most about this position? I think what surprised me most is I was really scared when I started about like being creative, and like my background is not in marketing and communications, and what surprised me was how easy it is to, and like how awesome the free tools on the internet are for creating creative things. So Canva, if you're in this role, Canva is going to be your best friend. It's so easy to use, and I was happy to see and surprised to see how easy it is to create creative social media and promotional materials using free things on the internet, which is great. What was the second question? What do I enjoy most? I mean, obviously the board, like just being on the board, our board members are so fantastic. I learn every day from them. The board retreat is honestly so much fun. Like that was one of the biggest anxiety things for me, is like, I have to go to this retreat with 7 people I've never met before, and we're going to spend 2 days together. But you really, having the board retreat as the first thing you do with OWHE pretty much really sets the tone and the foundation for your position. And I mean, you're committing 2, sometimes 3 years to being a part of the board of directors. So I just loved spending that time with them. Sorry, that was not 15 seconds or less.
Fine, you're fired. We're gonna find you a replacement. It's fine. Just kidding. Sorry. Don't go. Okay, you get to pick the next person though.
Who's left? Brenna.
Okay, I'll try to be fast. What surprises me? One, every event I plan is chaos, and I'm like, nothing's gonna work, and then it works fine. So showing up at the conference and like shit just works, and the rest of the board is there like making sure it all works. It's so great. Secondly, I don't like group work. However, I also love being a part of this board, and I was gonna say that, it's written down. I'm not just piggybacking, but I didn't think I would be so like into the community. Like that's not why I joined. But it was, yeah, a surprising benefit. What do I enjoy most? No, what was the second one?
You
Yeah, what do you
responded
enjoy
to both.
most? I think you responded to both.
Yeah, you did.
That
Great. Mackenzie can follow up with that.
Oh my gosh, I've already forgotten what the prompts were.
What surprises you and what you enjoy?
Okay, what surprised me the most, oh my gosh, I think was just how involved everyone is. I kind of just came in assuming like, oh, I'm the conference director, this is my role, this is what I do. But really it is a lot of group work, and it's a lot of feedback and thoughts and perspectives given for pretty much everyone's roles. Of, okay, this is what I need to make this successful, or what do you think about this? And I think that goes in part to what I really enjoy about it. Not to continually use that as an example, but it really is. I work in a very small office now at my large campus, and I was kind of just assuming that I would, have a lot of autonomy and this would kind of just be my role. But I really, really enjoy the fact that we all are coming together from different positions, from different institutions, from different backgrounds and perspectives, and we have one big goal. So that's what I really enjoy about it. Oh, and I'll have Shannon go next.
Oh, Shannon's just, helping moderate.
I forgot.
No, it's all right. No, it's good.
Else. I feel so awkward.
I'll go. So what surprised me the most about this position was a couple of things. I think one was how much I didn't realize how collective the decision making was going to be. I think along the same lines as Mackenzie. Wow. It's fine. We do a lot of collective decision making, and that is not something that I had ever really experienced effectively before. And so it's been really incredible to be on this board and see like how effective and empowering collective decision making can be. And so I think that really surprised me. What also really surprised me is that I didn't fail. I was terrified of being chair, and I had a lot of perfectionism that being on this board has helped me really face and call out and move and grow from. And so I think the other thing that really surprised me was just the depth of transformative growth that being on the board provided me, and gave me the opportunity for. And I think what I enjoyed the most was, we all said it, the board, being on the board, and the community of the board was really incredible. And in having a space where you can say, I'm working through this, I'm talking through this, I want to understand this better. Or like, I want to call somebody out on this, but I need to check my own bias first. Can somebody talk to me about that? Like that, this is a space where that happens. It's also a space for like really supportive growth and a space to try things and iterate, and it doesn't have to be perfect and nobody expects that, and I think that's one of my favorite things as well. And I mean, the board and also the membership is one of my other favorite things. Walking around the conference and just seeing all of these like incredible individuals who are convening around some of the same topics that we as a board have talked about all year, and just seeing this collective passion is really inspiring. And so, I mean, I think at the end of the day, I feel like I actually can make a difference by being on the board in a way that I've never felt in any other capacity, and like a difference for good for the world, not just for the bottom line of my company or anything like that. Sorry, I missed the 15 seconds too. All right, so I now we have a couple more questions that we can go through, but I wanted to open it up for questions from our attendees to the session. Does anybody have any questions?
And would either of you attending like to share what positions you're considering? Maybe that might help us be able to give you more information on those.
Hi, my name is Shania. I work for Reed College. Hayden just went to go grab lunch really quick. She'll be back. I'm actually interested in the Director of Engagement position, but then also have been thinking about the Director of Analytics position. One thing with the engagement role, we were actually both wondering how are folks with the mentorship program, like what information is being used to like cluster people together?
You're
I think I muted.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it really is not a super sophisticated setup. It's a Google form currently. Last year, so I'll go back a couple of years, and you know, every year the mentorship program tweaks a little bit in terms of how it's designed. In the past, there has been opportunities to match folks like one-to-one. And that really had a little bit more of an involved process, of course, because if you're going to match one-to-one, you really want to make sure there's a lot of commonality. And what ended up happening was that you did have some really strong mentorship pairs, and then you had some mentorship pairs that were really not as strong because there just wasn't as much overlap. And also in some instances, again, it was less about individuals wanting to be a part of a mentorship connection that was like, show me how to become a dean, you're a dean. You know, what happens when you actually have many within the OWHE membership community who are still either mid-level professionals or they're early professionals, and they're wanting to both get some support around their career path, but they're also navigating very common issues. So that's why the mutual mentorship model was first adopted, to really say, this isn't so much about having experts in particular fields or people with a lot of advanced knowledge mentoring those who are coming into higher ed, but instead we really can structure a model where everyone can see that they've got something to give and something that they can seek support around. So that's connected to the actual model around mutual mentorship. But in terms of the clusters, what we really decided to do was to evolve from looking at kind of regional connections and possibly areas that you lead and or support in higher ed to now focusing on 7 to 8 topics. So right now the topics include things like, are you actually a parent while you are navigating your career? Are you thinking about going back to graduate school? Or are you currently a graduate student while also working? Are you navigating things like being a person of color in the workplace, navigating disability in the workplace? What are some other, particular either areas of growth and or challenge that you're having? And we really match those clusters first and foremost around those issues that folks wanted to navigate and receive some support. And then secondarily, we tried to look for, might there be some options where there could be a few folks who are a little bit more further along in their career with folks who are earlier in their career. Are there folks who are able to maybe connect because they have some regional connections? Are they actually able to connect because they are all a part of community college, or maybe folks are very clear. They're like, I want to talk to someone at a 4-year, or I want to connect with someone at a community college. So as people kind of gave feedback on those 6 or 7 qualitative questions, it allowed for us to come up with the clusters for this year.
Great, thank you. Yeah, that was really helpful, because we were wondering just like what that meant in terms of like trying to develop a mentorship program. So that's really helpful. Thanks.
Yeah.
And I will also add, if you're interested in applying for multiple positions, we encourage that. And also, I'm happy to, if you want to tentatively apply, but I'm happy, like, if we're not sure how many, like, if we only have one applicant in a certain position, like, I'm happy to give you kind of that feedback if you're looking at applying to multiple positions too, just for a more transparent process, that you can make the choice that you feel like is in your best interest. And then also, if you were to be elected for both positions, we would then give you the choice of which position you wanted. So just know that those are, we've kind of got our own way of helping support that.
Okay. I'm actually wondering, with the director of analytics, is there any sort of like program or software that you're all using now to clean and work with data?
No. So
okay.
we're actually planning on scheduling a retreat for our project management software, because right now we use Google Drive and a Google spreadsheet for our like task management right now. And we use Slack for communication, and we use MailChimp for our records for our members. And so besides that MailChimp records database, we don't have much. So, but I have some ideas as to free softwares that could be used. And again, whoever comes into this position, I am more than happy to mentor and support in this process. Adrian, do you want to share what position you're interested in?
Sure. Let's see. Can you hear me okay? Yeah, great. Okay, thanks. I'm actually also interested in the data and records analytics position. I recently graduated from PSU with my master's in public administration, and my capstone was all about conducting a regression analysis on study abroad programs at PSU. So I have a little bit of experience in that realm, but actually one of the areas that I wasn't able to take that capstone project to was the data visualization piece. So when I saw that as part of this position, I thought, oh, this is a great opportunity to learn in an environment where there's an opportunity for mentoring and support. I'm really glad that the question was brought up about what software you use, because that was my question too. I've used SPSS, and I was considering learning R, or is it Stava, one of those. So I know that there's different options to do, but yeah, I think it's really smart to break up the marketing and records and analytics position. That sounds like a lot for one person to do. So my question for you is, or I guess for the board, is how do you see that position kind of fitting in with the board, and what's your, what are some of the like larger projects that that person will be working on in the first couple of months in the position?
Great question. And Jenna, feel free to jump in as well as I respond to this. I think, so one of the biggest projects to start is helping, so there's part of it that's driving strategy, and part of it that's driving like the data management that supports it, and then then reporting come back to drive strategy. So that there's that whole loop, right, that this position fits into. And part of it is like right now, the way folks become members of OWHE is if they attend a conference or if they find us on the webpage, there is a button that they push to say join the membership list, and it just goes straight into a MailChimp database. As folks move jobs, they have to re-add themselves as a member. As folks, leave, they unsubscribe maybe, or they just ignore the emails for infinity. And we get people who come to the conference and believe that they're members and never get an OWHE newsletter, so they never engage with us again because they don't know about that next step. So there's part of it of just like, what's our membership intake strategy is one of the big projects I think to start with first. I think there's part of it that's going to be a little arduous, which is just data cleaning. And that's all going to be a process because we have all these records of members where we probably have duplicates. I know we have duplicates. And then, so that's, I think those two are big priority, but I think the other piece that's really important is building some assessment tools for OWHE, for helping us gauge how are we actually performing in achieving our mission, our vision, and our values and our goals, especially around this pivot. And because we believe in being transparent and authentic, and so how are we actually doing? And so I think the other part of this position that's really going to be collaborating with all of our different board members is around setting some of those goals and the metrics for measuring success, and then the tools in which we're doing that. And I think also, I had one more piece to it that I can't remember now. Anyway, it'll come back to me. Jenna, do you have anything to add?
I agree, Erica. I think there's also some room in this role to think about community partnerships and other nonprofits and organizations kind of doing the same work in Oregon, and seeing like what are the best practices around membership databases and what are other folks using that works well. I would love to see as like a personal thing to see us, this position working directly with the marketing and promotions to really strategize how we are communicating to members, because currently our communication strategy is mostly email, and looking at our data, I am not a data analyst, but like just looking at what data we currently have, we're only seeing maybe a third of our members engaging in email and a very, very, very small percentage engaging in social media. So how do our members want to be communicated to, and what softwares and what are the best practices around communicating to members and getting them engaged and involved?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Can I, one thing I would love to see this position do with my position, and will be my position after next month, is kind of working strategically to figure out like kind of what Erica was saying, like how do we get the information that we need, and then like what Mackenzie was saying, how do we translate that into a really good conference where people see what they want to see, and maybe they're challenged to think about things they didn't necessarily know they wanted to see, right? I think we did some of that this year. And you know, every year we have this survey that goes out, and are we asking the best questions, and are we using that? So not just the like nitty-gritty part of the analytics and stuff, which is also very important, but also helping us figure out, like how, you know, at a big level, how do we get the information we need and then make data-driven decisions, I guess. Catchy word, but.
And I'd echo that in general with, you know, the work I do with the webinar and the learning community. Like, part of my job is to deliver content that people want. And so having better access to who are the people that I'm even delivering to, helping kind of pay attention to that and figure that out a little bit more, because, you know, I don't necessarily have access to our members. So I have the list of the people who come, but I don't know how that fits into things. So yeah, having kind of that big picture view as well as that really microscopic view will be really helpful.
Yeah, thank you, you all. That was excellent. And I think in addition to that is building in the, I think another little small piece to this is we right now, like for who the institutional reps are, I have a Google spreadsheet that has everybody's email. And so as people change positions, I can update or change institutions, I can update them on the IR spreadsheet. It's not going to update in the main database. I don't know how to do that. If they're a volunteer somewhere else, they're going to have to tell somebody, whoever is leading their volunteer committee. So we have all these pockets of membership lists for committees, that are not connected to the overall at all either, which I think can be really, and if somebody emails me and says, I want to be an IR, I say, great, okay, I've added you to the list. Next time I go to write an email, I have to copy and paste and reformat everybody's emails from the Excel spreadsheet and add the new person and make sure that I didn't skip them. And so, I mean, there's just really like tactical things that can also really help ease or streamline some of the stuff that we do as the board that this position can support in as well. So I think it's a really broad mix of like strategy and tactical operational support. And it's all centered around data and records so there's a lot of room. And basically the strengths that you bring and the things that you get excited about, there will be room for in this position.
I think I would also say it sounds like we just named like a full-time job. So we recognize that like this position can't do everything, especially in a year. And so like we understand that these are just some options and ideas. And so I think whatever this person brings in, if they're doing their, like normal amount of time committed, like it's going to be great. And I know Erica will help prioritize a lot and everybody is happy to help there. So if you heard this and you're scared, please, please don't be scared. And yeah, like everybody mentioned, there's really a lot of room to like grow and learn things or do the things you like. So yeah, it's fun.
And I'd like to add about being on the board. We're encouraged to dream big and think about what projects and things we want to do, but we're also really, really well supported by our chairs and each other to say, hey, you're a person, you've got a life. What is manageable and realistic for you, and how can we support you in what you need to do? So again, kind of echoing what Brenna was saying, if any of this feels like too much work or too big, like it's scalable to your life. And we want to support you in being successful on the board.
Thank you. Yeah, that was great. And I think when we talk about like what surprises us about these positions, or what surprises me about being on the board, I think more than anything was just like how much we could accomplish with a few hours together. And also how much it was okay to just say, this can wait, or this will work out when it works out. This has been really good therapy for the perfectionist, like promoting white supremacy culture of must be productive all the time, because there is productivity and rest too. And I think we all as a board really, that's a central value for us. It's that, we want everyone to be successful. We want to make things happen and we want to do the best that we can, but we are also a volunteer board that turns over every 2 years. And so there are like built-in limitations. We're constantly recreating knowledge just because of the nature of it. I mean, those are real things, but there's also a ton of support and just as we get better and better at keeping records and of passing on that knowledge, we get better and better at cross trainings that we can help support folks as new people come in. And so I think that if any of this feels really big, or you're wondering like, what does it actually look like to be on the board? What happens if my life changes and I get a promotion and all of a sudden, like there's a lot, this position requires a lot of time commitment, or this being on the board requires a lot of time, but you space it out the way that works for you. So we meet once a month for an hour, and that hour everybody comes together. But otherwise you space it out what works for you. If you need to do an hour, like 3 evenings a week, that works. If you need to do, and the positions are different too. So go ahead and look at, on the election page, we talk about the time commitment for each position. Like being chair, I'm constantly on Slack. Organizing the conference, the 2 months leading up to the 4 months leading up to the conference is a lot of time and work. Being on the education committee, it's, you've got your, I don't know, Shannon, 5-6 hours every month or so. That might be really underestimating.
Basically.
Yeah, but it's year round and it's steady, so you can find things that work for the rhythm of your life. That's the moral of my story. And with that, we're at 1 o'clock. So does anybody else have any other questions about being on the board?
I will say if you have specific questions, all of our email addresses are up online. So I'm happy to answer anything via email if you want to contact us. There's like chair at OWHE and marketing at OWHE or whatever it is. Sorry, it's probably not marketing. So yeah, feel free to reach out if you have questions, or if you have fears that you need us to soothe, or just kind of want a cheerleader, because we'll always tell you to apply.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes,
I'll
I
echo
would love to see.
Oh,
Go ahead, Trisha.
I'll echo that, and I'll just say, given what was shared in terms of interest from the webinar too, already sent a little private ping. So if you're interested and want to get more support, we're open for that. And yeah, please, for those who are watching not live but really have interest, we are available. So we want you to apply, and we want to support you in this transition if you're really interested.
Yes. Yes. And if you think you're not ready, you are. You really are. And I stepped up to be chair with no idea what I was doing. And it was like the best, it was the best 2 years of my life. Sorry to the rest of the board. I hope they enjoyed it. But, you can do incredible things when you have an amazing support network, and being on the board is that. And so it's a really great opportunity for that. So if you're dealing with imposter syndrome, I want you to challenge yourself to step past that and apply, because you deserve that opportunity to try.
All right, well, thank you, everyone. Remember, apply for the elections. The links are on the OWHE website. We're all available to you, and enjoy your day.
Thank you.
Thanks, bye.
Bye.